Boston Dynamics dog-like robot is able to examine dangerous and hard-to-reach areas. It is equipped with a 360-degree camera with an infrared sensor and cost about $110,000. Amazing, Jasmine.
I once saw those robot dogs in Black Mirror, but that's another story. We've been enjoying a nice and dry start to the weekend. It looks great this evening if you're seeing the O's, but tomorrow things change. We've got temperatures only reaching the mid-70s with our next chance for rain and storms. That's followed by a cool down on Sundays. Highs only reach the 60s. We'll have nice and dry weather as we start the work week. Coming up, I'll have a look at the timing for tomorrow's storms and the impacts that we could see in my full forecast in about 20 minutes. Back to you.
Thank you, Jasmine. Coming up on Fox 45 News at 6 o'clock, what about criminals? Fox 45 News presses Maryland's Attorney General after he calls for a recall on theft-prone Kia and Hyundai vehicles. Governor Wes Moore faces some backlash for a tweet about Freddie Gray's death. His response and why some say he's opening old wounds.
The Attorney General demanding a recall, a look at the growing frustrations over a rash of Kia and Hyundai thefts. Neighbors heard an explosion early this morning, the latest on a bomb squad investigation in Carroll County. A Supreme Court deadline is looming tonight, the latest on the battle over access to one of the most common abortion medications in the country.
Live from WBFF in Baltimore, this is Fox 45 News at 6.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Maxine Stryker. The Fox 45 News at 6 o'clock starts right now with the exclusive Fox Track, your Baltimore Minute.
Climate change, illegal handgun regulations, and abortion access all on the table for lawmakers in Maryland during this last session. Lawmakers in Annapolis spending much of the 90-day session getting Senate Bill 1 through, curbing where legal gun owners can bring their concealed weapons in public. Governor Moore signaling he will sign it. The language similar to Senate Bill 2 in California, where lawmakers there, however, put a vote off for now.
Just yesterday, Maryland Attorney General Anthony Brown joining a coalition of other attorneys general across the country, calling on the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration to recall what he calls unsafe Hyundai and Kia vehicles, particularly vulnerable to theft. Brown says the vehicles are out of compliance with federal safety standards, posing unreasonable risk to public safety.
This is a circumstance where there's enough responsibility to go around. companies do need to sell cars where locks work. At the same time, the criminals have to be held accountable.
They're stealing cars all around, and I don't want to be in that number.
At the end of the day, criminals have to be held accountable, but we shouldn't be making it easier for criminals to get away with their crimes.
Well, this week, Maryland's Attorney General joins the calls for theft-prone Hyundais and Kias to be recalled nationwide. But what about consequences for the people who are committing these crimes? Fox 45's Amy Simpson has the details.
Maryland's Attorney General blaming social media for this problem, saying the internet is inundated with videos showing how to hotwire these vehicles and then challenging others to steal them. This Baltimore County woman up early on a Friday.
I wanted to get a lock to protect my car myself.
Now one of at least 400 county drivers.
Good morning. Thank you so much.
With an anti-theft device for their cars, as a rash of Hyundais and Kias continue to be stolen nationwide, likely in part due to a social media trend targeting certain Hyundais and Kias manufactured between 2011 and 2022.
They're stealing cars all around, and I don't want to be in that number.
Just yesterday, Maryland Attorney General Anthony Brown joining a coalition of other attorneys general across the country, calling on the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration to recall what he calls unsafe Hyundai and Kia vehicles, particularly vulnerable to theft. Brown says the vehicles are out of compliance with federal safety standards, posing unreasonable risk to public safety. The AG also saying local law enforcement is feeling the burden and doing all they can, but calls it a losing battle.
This is a circumstance where there's enough responsibility to go around. Companies do need to sell cars where locks work. At the same time, the criminals have to be held accountable by local police and prosecutors to make it clear that it's not just the companies that share the responsibility.
Former federal and state prosecutor Tharu Vignaraja weighing in, indicating it's not just the car companies who need to be held accountable.
At the end of the day, criminals have to be held accountable, but we shouldn't be making it easier for criminals to get away with their crimes.
Today, we asked the Attorney General's office, why is the AG asking for a recall instead of pursuing consequences and charges for those responsible for stealing cars? And should local states' attorneys be more aggressive in going after the people committing these car thefts? In a statement, a spokesperson for the AG said, Attorney General Brown has explained that he thinks the law enforcement community is doing everything it can to curb these thefts and arrest and prosecute those responsible. He was clear that the biggest obstacle to ending this dangerous cycle is Kia and Hyundai's failure to recall all of their impacted vehicles and fix them so their cars can't be stolen at the alarming and dangerous rates we have all witnessed. This is why we wrote to NHTSA asking it to force Hyundai and Kia to recall these vehicles. Both Hyundai and Kia also blame social media for this rise in thefts. The companies today telling Fox 45 News they are in compliance with federal safety standards, but they're offering free security updates and upgrades to impacted drivers. You can find those companies' full statements up on our website. Amy Simpson, Fox 45 News.
In a city in crisis now, an arrest made in relation to a shootout this month. Investigators say 27-year-old Devontae Hunter Burgess shot a 25-year-old man on Wildwood Parkway in West Baltimore last week. He's charged with attempted murder and multiple handgun violations. In a previous release, police said the 25-year-old was the first to fire, and a 27-year-old at the scene returned fire with a handgun that he legally owned. We have reached out to Baltimore police for clarification on this incident. Law enforcement asking for your help finding a suspect in an assault on a city bus. Maryland Transit Administration police say this man here, he attacked a bus driver in January on East Fayette Street in Baltimore. Anyone with information should contact MTA police. Some new developments tonight after the Baltimore Police Union said that Governor Wes Moore was out of line when he tweeted about the death of Freddie Gray. In his tweet, the governor wrote, Freddie Gray's tragic death was a turning point for not just those who knew him personally, but all of Baltimore as well. Honoring his memory means continuing the fight for justice and accountability. The police union accused the governor of reopening old wounds in the city and said officers did nothing wrong while arresting Gray, writing that Moore should not have been honoring Gray and calling Gray a drug dealer. Today, the governor stood by his words.
What I said wasn't controversial, and nor is it refutable. I think the local law enforcement know the support that I have for them, where we made historic investments of $122 million going towards local law enforcement. Local law enforcement know that I have their back.
I totally understand why they're angry, because there's a war on the police in this country, and yeah, he's right, it was a turning point for this city. It got worse.
While all officers were cleared of any wrongdoing, the city did settle a $6.4 million lawsuit with the family of Freddie Gray. So this brings us to our question of the day. Did the governor's tweet reopen old wounds for Baltimore City? Yes or no? So far, 98% of those who voted say yes. You can vote right now at foxbaltimore.com/vote. This just in tonight, all horse racing at Laurel Park has been canceled until further notice. That's according to the Maryland Jockey Club's Twitter account. 4-year-old Golden Pegasus sustained a catastrophic injury and was euthanized. A second horse was fanned off the track injured following a different race. We'll continue to update this story as we learn more. Baltimore's City Police, they need your help to find 2 teens who have been missing for 5 days now. 16-year-old Chase Pugh on your left and 13-year-old Anthony White there on your right. They were last seen on Monday. Their last known place was by the Catonsville Education Center. They are believed to be together, but they're not from this area. The boys have no cell phones either, so call 911 if you know their whereabouts.
Now, a Fox 45 News Alert in 3, 2, 1.
Breaking tonight, we're still following the latest on a house fire in Westminster, which is under investigation. Deputy State Fire Marshals, the bomb squad, and ATF are at a home on Prisian Way. That's in Carroll County. Neighbors tell Fox 45 they heard an explosion in that area around 9:30 this morning. Authorities say the scene is active. Crews focused on the area around the garage. So far, it's not clear what caused the explosion neighbors heard or what was happening inside that garage. We'll let you know when we have more information available. Maxine?
And listen, I have said it before, I will say it again. This is going to be Maryland's decade. Maryland is going to be the home and the leader in offshore wind in this country. And it is a day like today that's going to celebrate what that means and what that looks like.
Governor Westmore announcing a new green energy effort with Ørsted, a company helping the state develop offshore windmills. According to the governor, that plan could provide up to 300,000 homes with renewable energy and create thousands of jobs. During the event, the governor also signed multiple green energy bills. The windmill project and green energy bills they passed are just a part of the new governor's promise to make Maryland a leader in the fight against climate change, something that was a top priority for him during his campaign and the legislative session. Governor Moore moving aggressively on climate plans than a framework initially laid out by the Hogan administration. The governor adopting the Advanced Clean Cars 2 rule. It mirrors California's climate plan, requiring all new passenger cars, trucks, and SUVs sold in the state to be zero emission by 2035. The initial increase cost to Maryland taxpayers $9.5 million in budget year 2023.
We've been enjoying nice and dry weather. However, our next weather maker is on the way, and that's going to change that, leading to rain and storms tomorrow. We're keeping track of the system moving across the country, already leading to areas of rain and storms. This is all headed our way tomorrow, and it will have impacts to your Saturday plans. We're looking at a slight risk for strong to severe storms for areas in the yellow, a marginal risk for areas in the dark green. Make sure that regardless of where you live, that you are staying weather alert, and make sure to have multiple ways of receiving alerts in case any are issued. The primary threat will be gusty winds. There is the threat of heavy rain as well, and possibly isolated tornadoes and large hail. This all starts tomorrow afternoon. Coming up, I'll have a look at the timing of the storms and when we dry out in my full forecast. Back to you.
A Supreme Court decision could come anytime tonight. The latest on the looming deadline on a key reproductive rights case. Charges officially dropped, but that doesn't mean he's completely in the clear. The latest on the Rush shooting case and actor Alec Baldwin.
Fox 45 News, winner of 17 2022 Regional Emmy Awards, more than all other Baltimore news stations combined.
We're prepared for whatever decision comes down today, because when we said that Maryland is going to be a safe haven for abortion rights, I meant that. And it means we're going to use every single tool and asset that we have in order to make that real.
Governor Westmore promising to protect reproductive rights right here in Maryland as all eyes are on the Supreme Court tonight. The justice is set to decide the fate of a widely used abortion pill. Before midnight, they could make a call on whether mifepristone should stay on the market. It comes after anti-abortion activists in Texas petitioned a federal court to suspend the FDA's approval of the drug. On appeals, court reinstated it, but with some major restrictions now. The Biden administration says it's not only this drug at stake, but the entire FDA approval process could be affected.
You're talking about a decision that is going to have very direct, immediate, and national impact. And the court is proceeding with circumspection, which is what it needs to do.
Mifepristone has been used by more than 4 million women since its approval 23 years ago, and it's approved in dozens of nations. And there is some confusion about when exactly the U.S. government runs out of money. For weeks, the U.S. Treasury has been saying early June. However, Goldman Sachs estimates that if tax receipts are down by less than 30% year over year, then we're looking at a late July date, which gives Washington more time to hammer out a deal. Both parties keep saying nobody wants a default.
A default on our debt is not an option. It will have catastrophic consequences. And the extreme MAGA Republicans in the House of Representatives are flirting with a default.
There's been a willingness to compromise, and we all know that the outcome, if we don't have a proposal we can give the president, is just so unacceptable. No one wants to default.
President Biden and Democrats want a clean debt ceiling extension, no spending cuts. Republicans, they do want spending cuts, and there are a handful of House Republicans who say they won't vote to extend under any circumstances. Meanwhile, prosecutors have formally dismissed an involuntary manslaughter charge against Alec Baldwin. Baldwin was holding the gun, you'll remember, that went off on the set of that movie Rust, killing Helena Hutchins, the film cinematographer. Baldwin did not know there was live ammunition in the gun and claims he never pulled the trigger. New evidence suggests that Baldwin's claim may have been the case if the firearm was modified. A special prosecutor says it is possible the dismissal may only be temporary pending further investigation. The film's weapons handler is still facing charges. A new report finds 2022 was a year of climate extremes, and many climate records are being broken, but not in a good way. According to the World Meteorological Organization's annual State of the Climate report, oceans reached record high temperatures last year. That's in part due to record melting in Antarctica's glaciers and in the Alps. Climate scientists say most records are on track to be broken again this year.
Right now, you're taking a look over Baltimore and over Towson, where it's nice and dry. We've had lots of sunshine, but on the HD radar, you can see some areas of rain, and that's all associated with our next weather maker. It could have impacts on your Saturday plans. We're keeping track of this low pressure system and the fronts extending from it. We're seeing areas of rain and storms associated with that, and we'll stay nice and dry until that arrives. Really not much happening here in Maryland, but that's going to change tomorrow. We've got nice and dry weather right now and plenty of sunshine. High temperatures sit at 83 with winds out of the east-southeast around 10 miles per hour, just a little breezy. Temperatures are mainly in the 70s and the 80s across the state. We even had a few areas in the 90s, but this warm and dry trend comes to an end tomorrow. First overnight, our temperatures drop to the 50s and 60s. Then as we head into the afternoon, we reach the 70s, but we get ready for the next chance for showers and storms. We're looking at a slight risk for areas in yellow. That's threat level 2 of 5 for strong to severe storms. Areas in green are under a marginal risk, threat level 1 of 5. Make sure that you are staying weather alert as we get closer to the afternoon when those storms do arrive. Looks good for anyone heading to the O's game this evening. Then overnight, our temperatures drop to the 50s and 60s as more clouds move in. We'll start with dry weather, so it looks good if you have anywhere to be if you're planning on spending some time outside in the morning. But by the afternoon, the showers and storms arrive ahead of that cold front. We are talking areas of heavy rain at times, and that's mainly going to be within thunderstorms. Rain continues until the cold front passes over the state. Then we're left with mostly dry weather as we head into Sunday morning. We'll start with cooler temperatures, then by the afternoon, the cool trend continues as our highs only reach the 60s. That's going to be followed by nice and dry weather and even lower temperatures on Monday. Tomorrow, the primary threat will be gusty winds, followed by heavy rain within thunderstorms. There's also the threat for isolated tornadoes and large hail. All types of severe weather are possible, so make sure that you have multiple ways of receiving alerts in case any are issued. Again, the timing looks to be the afternoon as we head into the evening. We drop to 62 overnight with more clouds moving in. Then tomorrow, we're looking at our high temperatures reaching the mid-70s. That's still above average, but much cooler than the temperatures we've had over the past few days. It gets even cooler following the storms and the cold front on Sunday, and that cool trend continues into the work week. Coming up, I'll have a look at what you can expect for the weekend and into next week in the exclusive 10-day forecast.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Thursday night storms put on quite a sky show in Austin, Texas. In addition to the lightning, several cars got stuck in high water. While in Waco, crepuscular rays and mammatus clouds appeared after the storm passed. And check out this South Carolina eagle who looks like he could use some rest this weekend.
Listen to Off the Radar, new episodes every Tuesday. Find it wherever you get your podcasts.
Gerstel Academy students lend their green thumbs for Earth Day at their new McDaniel Environmental Center. The center teaches students the importance of keeping the earth clean and safe. Students say getting out of the classroom to learn about the environment is good.
I think getting the hands-on experience is really important for them and for us especially to kind of see what we can do personally and physically to kind of help the earth out and bring in that environmental aspect that we have at Gerstel. We highlight the importance of keeping the earth clean and helping others.
Tomorrow marks the 53rd annual Earth Day. This year's theme, Invest in Our Planet. Here's a look at today's top trending stories. Number one, comedian and actor Adam Sandler is in Baltimore tonight. He is performing at CFG Bank Arena as part of his Adam Sandler Live Tour. Tonight's show will be Sandler's final performance after a year-long run. The show starts in a few hours, kicking off at 7:30 p.m. Number two, Clopper Lake and Seneca Creek State Park closing for a toxic algae bloom. Boating and swimming in the lake is prohibited until the blue-green algae is under control. Officials say while the algae is unlikely to make most people sick, there's a chance some could have a negative reaction to it. Number three, Lyft is announcing massive job cuts. The ride-sharing company plans to cut 1,200 or more jobs. The cut won't affect drivers, though, because the company does not count them as employees. The next call from your loved one could be a scammer trying to steal your money. The new ways they're working to trick you over the phone. Artificial intelligence scams, they're popping up across the country. One of the latest you need to be worried about are calls that sound like they're coming from a loved one that could actually be a computer that stole their voice. Emily Ortiz from our sister station in West Palm Beach has the warning.
Be vigilant of phone calls coming from people claiming to be loved ones in trouble. Federal officials are warning of a new and terrifying trend on the rise, with criminals using artificial intelligence to clone a familiar voice. With the right website or software, con artists can pretend to be your family or friend in trouble, asking for money. They pull this by simply saving a clip of your loved one's voice from their social media accounts. Tech expert Craig Agernoff says criminals can easily recreate the unique voice patterns of someone you may know.
This takes literally minutes if you have the right software and tools to use.
He says a parent or grandparents are vulnerable to this scam.
This one worries me because, if I saw your face calling me up on my phone on FaceTime or something else, I would think that you actually needed my help, and I wouldn't realize that it was a scam.
The usage of voice cloning is sparking debate.
Voice cloning can also be used in a variety of useful applications, like improving accessibility for people with speech impediments, or creating more realistic voice assistants. So, voice cloning really does have some good aspects.
But with the good often comes with bad actors, which is why local and federal law enforcement urge families to be prepared so you don't fall victim. They recommend coming up with a safe word or having a plan in case they reach out to you.
If you ever got this call